La diffusion vient de démarrer. Tous les participants sont en mode écoute seule.
Hello to all. Dear guests, we are pleased to welcome you to this webinar, which is dedicated to how to maximize H 2020 collaborative projects benefits through the use of professional innovation management approaches and digital tools. So we hope that it will bring you new ideas on H 2020 project management. Regarding technical details, I remind you that participants can raise questions through the tool during the course of the webinar, and we will try to answer at the end of the webinar, which should last about 45 minutes. In case there are too many questions and we have to stop, you are kindly requested to contact us directly after the presentation, and our contact data are given at the end of the presentation. So let's first introduce ourselves. My name is Fabienne Breton. I'm an engineer in process engineering, and I am at aiming for 16 years now, and I'm specialized in innovation management and collaborative R&D projects, and I'm certified within the PMI.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Etienne Macron. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I also spent the last 16 years working here at aiming for management and setting up of collaborative R&D projects.
Okay, let's start with the rationale of the webinar. As you are aware, European Commission expectations have evolved with the H 2020 program implementation, and European Commission is expecting now more proximity and impact from projects, and of course to anticipate the project implementation with limited risks, for instance, such as organizational or technical. So our webinar aims at giving you tips and recommendations on how to efficiently demonstrate projects are anticipating ecosystems and markets, and while ensuring professional control of planned activities and prevent deviations. So our presentation will be done according to three main parts. First of all is the H 2020 context reminder. Second is the aimings approach through the presentation of the value wheel that we established. And we will finish with a conclusion.
So, in order to give you a bit of context of what is H 2020, with a total available funding of 80 billion euro, H 2020 aims at attracting further public and private investments, but also creating growth and jobs, tackling societal challenges, and reinforcing EU international competitiveness. In this, the context also of tighter budgets and more public attention to the effectiveness of public funding and EU-funded research, there is a need to demonstrate the performance, impact, and added value of EU programs. To a certain extent, the mistake mentioned by Milton Friedman was made in the way the previous framework program were handled. In the changes made by H 2020 make a strong shift in the sense that now the projects are judged both by their scientific and technological outcomes, of course, but also by their impact on the EU economy and society. All the aspects, technical and non-technical, of the project performance are therefore closely monitored during the project implementation. And this is done through specific indicators, such as the number of patents, for example, the number of joint public-private publications, and the market orientations is promoted during the project lifetime by the project officers, during project reviews, or when evaluating the exploitation and dissemination activity reports. This means that the project management strategy must necessarily be defined so as to ensure a smooth project implementation, to allow the project to be successful, and to maximize the benefits for all interested parties.
Okay, so I will show you and introduce you the value wheel that we built according 9 main questions to be solved during project management. So 3 main axes are identified. First of all, first one is a secure project progress, which tasks are dedicated to operational project coordination. Second one is accelerate project impacts, which tasks will be oriented to maximization of project impacts for the various stakeholders. And at last, anticipate results and market, which tasks will support the consortium to be fully aware of its evolving ecosystem, so to be able to react and decide fast. Regarding the first axis, secure project progress, the 3 main questions are how to efficiently steer and give dynamic to the project, how to comply with funders' requirements, how to prevent deviations and seize new opportunities. Regarding accelerate project impacts, the questions are how to organize powerful communication and dissemination, how to set durable collaborations and networking, how to ensure maximized innovation management and results exploitation, and finally, anticipate results and market questions to be solved are how to prepare yourselves to the market, how to anticipate markets or technologies evolution, and how to scout the project ecosystem. So we'll now review each of the axes and present to you some actions, methods, and tools that are to be used to support the project implementation in the perspective of H2020. So we start first with a secure project progress axis.
Okay, so 2 main actions here are to be undertaken. The first one is, of course, to monitor the project progress, especially through planning, cost, results, and data management. And the second one is the animation of the consortium. And this action encompasses, for example, the mobilization of resources from all organization stakeholders, from the scientific, legal, financial, and marketing departments, to allow an efficient implementation of the decision-making process by permanently sharing updated information on the project status. And the efficient meeting organization is also an important issue in order to optimize the face-to-face time between the partners. To support these actions, some dedicated tools could be used, and this is what we will be reviewing in the following slides. So the first one we are using is the collaborative platform. Here you can have a look at the home page of this platform, which allow us to provide to the partners clear roadmaps, quick access to information. Could be KPIs, documentation, action list, address book. So this is the meeting point available for the partners of the project. Of course, we are using a tool which is more commonly used for project management, but still a professional Gantt chart is obviously necessary. And if at all possible, identifying in this Gantt chart the deviation and critical paths. Okay, as outlined in the introductory part of this webinar, indicators are to be set for each project in order to monitor the project performance according to various topics. It could be the partner's level of involvement, the risk, and the financial performance of the project, dissemination aspect, commercial issues. So you can see here on this slide some example of project KPIs we are commonly using in our H2020 projects. And of course, depending on the project targets, some KPIs will be more relevant than others. After the key actions necessary to steer and give dynamic to the project, we'll now look at the answers to be provided to the financing authority requirements.
Okay, so In order to comply with the funders' requirements, we recommend to consider two main actions. The first one is leading on contractual and administrative actions between the consortium and funders. So through various tasks such as prepare regular amendments to the grant agreement to ensure the consistency between planned and actual project developments, to anticipate project results exploitation by clarifying very soon the consortium context, especially through the consortium agreement, and to prepare carefully interaction with the funder, of course, during project reviews, but also to take opportunity of any events and dialogues that can allow to share the vision of project officers. Second action is the managing of reporting activities, of course. So to organize the periodic financial monitoring in order to ensure maximization of a European Commission grant versus the results achieved. To provide synthetic and consistent reports on the project activities, including the deliverables, of course. And at last, to propose intra-consortium webinars to share best practices, such as financial guidelines, in order to avoid to lose time and dynamic during the reporting period. So once again, you can use a collaborative platform to share the information, but I will introduce you also the tools for financial monitoring, such as the earned value method or cost database. And we propose also to have a tuned reporting, which is adapted to stakeholder needs in terms of expecting content and in order to save time and avoid any information leakage. So, for instance, if you use databases for cost follow-up, you may be able to consolidate such graphs that provide valuable information for project level or also for work package or partners level. So the idea behind this action is, of course, to monitor the actual costs, so to be able to anticipate and correct deviations, either at partner level or at project level, and also to maximize the use of resources within the project or for a partner, once again. So at last, for this axis, securitization of the project, an important action of project implementation is a deviations prevention, both from project and results point of views.
From our experience, deviations are to be dealt with by the implementation of a proper risk management plan and also by training the consortium members to risk prevention, the so-called mitigation measures, and the risk control reduction through a contingency plan. There are four main categories of risks: technical, of course, which is the obvious one, but also external ones, dealing maybe with subcontracting difficulties, organizational, the modification of the partner's internal structure that may have an impact on the project, and the project management strategies itself, which could encounter some deviations, some issues. The IP supervision has also to be considered at this level, even if it is also linked to the axis anticipate, we will cover later on during the presentation. So the risk analysis is performed according to the following closed loop methodology, including 7 steps. Pretty straightforward, but still to be dealt with carefully. So the risks are first identified and evaluated, ranked, the one together each other, and then we try to decide on how to consider the risk. We elaborate some options and select the best strategy, and afterwards implement, monitor, and adjust if necessary. It is important also to note that risk is not necessarily negative. It is important to try and identify the opportunities that may arise during the project durations and which could benefit to the project success. So how to deal with risk, whether they are positive or negative. So different strategies exist. and the consortium has to decide on a case-by-case basis what is the most appropriate response. So this response could be from putting a lot of effort and resources to avoid the risk to occur, or another strategy could be simply to accept the risk and to take no specific actions. This type of decision does not prevent the risk monitoring to keep on going. After the risk analysis is done, we end up with the risk mapping presented here, which is reviewed and updated regularly during the project. It takes a great part in the decision-making process as a quick and graphical representation of the risk classifications according to their probability to occur and their potential impact. And the matrix below explains how the roles and responsibilities are shared between the consortium members with regard to the implementation of the risk management strategy.
Okay, we have now covered the secure project progress overview, and we'll go through the accelerated project impacts questions. So, how to organize powerful communication and dissemination first. Of course, powerful communication and dissemination aim at facilitating the spread of results to the different project targets within the project, and with expected enhanced reception of the messages, of the data, of the information in general. So we generally insist particularly on two main actions, which are first to define and implement a project communication and dissemination strategy. That can be first go through a stakeholders analysis, and we'll come back on that topic in next step, to identify and prepare clearly key messages to be given to those stakeholders, and to prepare channels and plans to mobilize the consortium efficiently to answer that strategy. Second action is to develop method and tools, of course, going through web-based channels, such like the website or social networks, of course, to remind, to go through concurrent conferences and publications planning, and also to focus on printed supports, such as like flyers or brochure. But we also insist on some rules within the consortium. Of course, first one is to establish clear and simple rules for dissemination and communication, and to make sure they are respected, which is not very obvious during the project progress. Second one is, of course, to promote the open access, which is a strong European Commission policy. So to make sure that results are open to all, and so do not hesitate to budget costs related to this action. And last recommendation is to anticipate actions and regularly consolidate data on a periodic basis, for instance, on a 3-monthly basis, in order to avoid long and unvaluable work. So regarding main tools and methods, you have to invest time in determining the strategy, the plan, and I will present you in the next slide, and also to provide diverse and up-to-date means such as the website, printed, oral presentation, project poster session, etc. So regarding the plan, how to define a communication plan, first step is to define the project needs. Second one is to identify clearly the stakeholders. The third step is to define messages adapted to those stakeholders, to define each of the methods and tools that can combine the messages and the stakeholders' purposes. Finally, to establish a planning and to define a budget. So, for instance, the website is generally the most efficient and quick way to communicate about the project. So we recommend to give a strong emphasis to its content, to keep it updated as much as possible, and to make it evolving all along the project progress. And we know by experience that it is not easy to collect data, but it will be a clear benefit for the project and stakeholders. You may also invest on printed means, such as brochure, to be distributed during conference and workshops. The first action, this first action that I presented, set the fundamentals of communication and dissemination, and that are to be completed with the following action.
Indeed, apart from the technical achievements of the project, it's also part of the project management strategy to make the most out of the collaborative nature of the project, to identify opportunities for an efficient mobilization of stakeholders in order to detect related needs and opportunities, such as seek for specific scientific expertise or new partners or input to settle future strategies. And also to benefit from events organized by the European Commission, brokerage events and networking, Coordinators Day, to collaborate with project partners and with other projects. So as explained in the communication plan strategy, the first step is to define the most appropriate action. The first step to define the most appropriate action is to map all the project stakeholders, whether they are internal or external parties. So these stakeholders can be classified according to 4 main categories, considering their respective interest in the project and their potential impact on the project. Finally, another axis to tackle in order to accelerate project impacts is also to ensure a proper innovation management and results exploitation.
Okay, how to ensure maximize innovation management and results exploitation? This question is in fact one of the main stakes related to collaborative R&D projects. How to maximize the lever effect of collaboration, how to ensure that all players are really playing the same game and, if possible, with the same rules. So in our projects, we propose first to ensure high-level innovation management within the consortium through, for instance, internal benchmark. This action can be performed based on the review and an analysis of the innovation management process of each partner, based of course, non-confidential practices in the perspective then to collect and disseminate within the consortium main strengths in terms of innovation management, and also to communicate those best practices and recommendations, so to increase efficiency of long-term partnering and further results exploitation. Second task, we also propose to invest time on consortium training in order to boost exploitation and IP consolidation. For instance, to provide IP awareness training for participants, so to avoid IP value leakage, and also to promote the results-oriented strategy seminars, such as the ones that are proposed by the European Commission. Also to carry out a regular IP watch related to the project developed technology for, of course, determine very early the ownership, to manage joint ownership where applicable, to identify how to grant access rights, and of course, to set further steps such as feasibility studies, patents, or other protection means. Also, we recommend to analyze the IP capture based on the continuous benchmark to identify and assess the results that could be subject matter of protection, and to use and to take benefit of the dissemination actions, such as publications and progress reports, each issued by the work package leaders, for instance. So the main tools that we use within our projects, first one is the innovation management model, Few exists, of course, and aiming contributed to the development of a proprietary innovation readiness level model, which is based on a collaborative work performed in the FP7 project called INSEC. And I will give you some clues in the next slide. For the moment, it is only in French, but it will be available soon in English. Regarding freedom to operate, it is usually used to mean determining whether an action, such as commercializing a result, can be done without infringing valid intellectual property rights of others. And it is very important to determine whether there is freedom to operate in any particular jurisdiction, and so to use patents databases. So we recommend to train and to anticipate as much as possible, so to have a clear view of the exploitation capabilities of the consortium very early. So how to measure the consortium performance in terms of innovation management? So the model that we built based on INSEC results is based on the understanding on how the organization is structured to face some major stakes, such as the 10 stakes listed on the top of the slide. For instance, the corporate culture and management is the ability to generate ideas and motivate collaborators. The knowledge is the ability to disseminate and capitalize the knowledge. Collaboration and networking is the ability to multiply fruitful collaborations with the ecosystem and the capacity to attract talents. So based on a quantitative and qualitative study, we can establish the following diagnostic. Here, for instance, the score of the consortium is 70. That is a good score, as 87% of companies generally score less than 70. However, as you can see on the graph at the right of the slide, the individual scores are not fully homogeneous, and our work within the project will be to increase the score for all of them, providing them good practices. We will provide them also recommendations, very easy to implement, so to ensure that all partners are results-oriented and will be in capacity to exploit properly the results that will be generated by the project. Thus, it will benefit, of course, to individual partners, but also to the project, and will maximize the lever effect of collaborative R&D. So, for instance, based on main weaknesses identified, we may suggest to implement some recommendation, and here is an example of a fact sheet that can be provided to the consortium. Now we will move to the last axis of the value wheel, namely anticipate results and market.
So the first step here is to see how to prepare the project partners to the market. The challenge from the project management point of view is here to give support to the partners, collectively or individually, to help them benefit from the project outcomes. The key actions to be carried out in this respect from our point of view are to develop business model and the associated business plan, to define main issues and challenges to overcome, collaborative strategy, identifying key partners to be addressed, defining the exploitation strategies, which markets are the ones to be targeted first. The knowledge management strategy is also part of the discussion and the strategy to be defined. Then you need to identify funding leverage to support the exploitation strategy and consolidate the financial plans for each identified business case. And if necessary, to organize brokerage pitching events where partners, depending on the business case, technology readiness level, could present their results to potential users or investors. So the tool we are using to perform this task and to support the partners here is, for example, the business model canvas from Osterwalder. which helps describing, designing, challenging, and finally conceptualizing the business case and the associated value proposal and business models. Okay, associated to this business case and business model definition, you can see here displayed some screenshots of our internal business plan tool, which is used in collaborative projects in order to build the business plan, to see if additional funding is necessary, and to present to the funding authority totally secure, even if innovative and ambitious project development strategy. To supplement this exploitation strategy, it is also important to keep a close eye on the market evolution in order to regularly benchmark the project results with regard to the outside world, and this is what we'll be looking at the next slides.
Okay, so in order to get the clearest picture possible about the overall ecosystem of the project and consortium, you may include in the project work program those three tasks. First one is to get an eye on market's evolution, so to be able to propose project evolution in case of deviations, or if identifying new opportunities, for instance. So to identify new business or use cases, or also, of course, to fine-tune the initial objectives versus the parallel world besides the project. And a second point could be to establish updated roadmaps to facilitate decision-making. Second action is to do a permanent review of scientific results about the project, such as patents, publications, funded or private projects, so to be able to detect very early new possible developments and position project in its ecosystem. Third task is to anticipate competitive strategies by collecting information and data on their respective expertise, strategy, network, patents, and of course to adapt your own strategies. So databases such as Orbit, Scopus, Cordis, for instance, are able to give you the information, but of course this information needs to be treated, analyzed, and restituted in a proper way to be able then to decide. And you may also use information coming from market trends analysis, as for instance Statista, to position the project. So regarding results exploitation, as an example, this is a chart illustrating the work that can be done to evaluate from your identify results perspective. Both the first arrow gives you the main actors on the markets, how your partners are positioned in this ecosystem, who are the competitors, how they are present in the scientific world or technological world. And also a second aspect is what are the related markets that can also be considered in order to enlarge the perspectives for the result exploitation. In terms of trends or data, getting those data, those market data, will enable to give to your stakeholders, to your partners, to your funders, some perspectives in terms of total addressable markets or total available markets, but also in terms of serviceable available market, which is a portion of a total addressable market targeted, which can be served by your products or services, but also the share of market that can be obtained, so the serviceable obtainable market, which is a percentage of the serviceable available market, which is realistically reached. So this is very important information that are more and more requested by the program and project officers during the course of the project. So we have been through the value wheel. So our main recommendation in general is to be able to maximize project impacts for all stakeholders, and so do not forget any of the components of the value wheel. So just a few reminders to secure the project progress. You have to base the collaboration on a collaborative platform, and of course to consider professional tools and methods. Second point, to accelerate, then it is a matter of methods to identify and reach the targets, but also to benchmark collectively in order to maximize the benefits. And finally, for anticipate results and markets, to use the information available through the databases, for instance, and of course to keep in mind to have strategies preparation tools to when you will be faced to the market. As complementary sources, of course, we have a few clues for you. I've recorded at the beginning of the year a short video introducing the H2020 project's evolution, which is mainly the same content. It is in French, but subtitled in English, so you can have access through YouTube. And of course, we'll have also a video coming soon presenting Maximisez collaborative platform advantages. And it is not yet finished, but will be available soon on the Aiming website.
Okay, and to conclude, some information about Aiming, who we are. So we have more than 25 years of experience in different framework programs, national and European. So I said French and EU funding mechanisms. So all these types of funding programs are covered by our consultants. We have submitted under French and EU mechanism since the last 7 years 350 projects. In general, when we apply together with a consortium, we multiply by 3 the average success rate of the funding authorities. We are ranked in the top 14 among the French participants in FP7. We have database and contact with more than 4,000 partners. 40 projects are ongoing as project management for a total funding of almost 600 million euros. And then 90% of our projects funded obtain the maximum funding amount, which is also the consequence of what we call the success of a project, both from the management point of view and from the technical point of view. So as Fabien said at the beginning of the presentation, here are our contact details. So not hesitate and feel free to contact us if necessary, if you have any further questions with respect to what we have presented today regarding the project management in general.
Now we can go through questions. So we received a few of them. We have about 5 minutes to answer, so that's great. So first question we received is, we're supposed to take care of all these actions. So of course, the coordinator has a role to play in considering this action, but also, of course, all partners have to be involved in this task. This is a collective responsibility. This is a collaborative project. And of course, professional partners under the form of a partner or subcontracting, of course, can also be participating to those projects and brings expertise on these aspects. Second question, do we have to consider this axis at the early stage and project setting up?
So the answer is yes. We have been detailing these 9 axes during the presentation, of course, depending on the project configurations, the number of partners, the type of project, whether it's a research innovation action or innovation action, the effort and to be brought into the different axes will have to be adapted accordingly. For example, if an innovation actions will end up with a demo pilot plant, of course, the business plan strategy, the market study will be of main importance. If we are in a research innovation actions where we'll only make a proof of concept, we will be a bit more far away of a market uptake at the end of the project. So I'm not saying that it's not useful to do a market study, but you can put a bit less effort on these activities. But clearly, since this has an impact on the resources to be involved and the description of the work to be done, yes, this has to be considered right at the setting up phase in order to have enough resources and the project structure compatible with the fact that we have to deal with these questions all along the project.
So I think we have another question, but yes, this is a question about sending the presentation, of course. As we are close to the end of the webinar, the presentation will be sent to all the people that recorded on the website for the presentation. So they will be receiving the full presentation. And if you have any further questions, do not hesitate to contact us directly, either by phone or mail. The data are given in the previous slide. So thank you to all participants, and we will get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.